Entrepreneurship, it's all game. The Big Potato Podcast is yours to claim. From startups to scaling up, we cover it all. So don't mess up. Monday nights, don't miss the show with Kendall and Stuart. Your time to grow, listen up, take notes and learn. The Big Potato Podcast, next gen's turn.
And welcome back, you guys, to the Big Potato Podcast. Yep, we are so happy to be here. Yeah, we're overwhelmed to be here once again with you guys. Another episode, season 2, episode 2. And thank you guys so much for all your feedback, all your love, all the shares, all the listens, the views. We are grateful. And on that note, remember to go follow the Big Potato Podcast on all social media platforms, particularly YouTube and Spotify, where you can catch our full episodes, all our shorts and other content related to the podcast. So guys, we are in the Java, we are in the summertime, depending on where you are in the world. So it's all about good vibes, good energy, and we keeping it moving in season 2, you know. Stuart, how you doing, bro?
Well, to be honest, a bit tired. Yeah, I've been up and down because I'm actually putting together a children's camp, which is actually starting on Friday. So it's a lot of up and down with that. It's a free camp for the children to, appreciate the culture. They will have a project they'll create. Well, they will come up with what they want to design and create. And whatever the children create will be displayed in the Central Bank Museum. So it will instill pride in them about a cultural project. So I'm very busy with that right now. Very excited about it as well. But I'm here, the Big Potato Podcast. What has to be done will be done, and we'll do it here tonight with our special guest.
Yeah. We're keeping it moving. We have already uncovered so many industries. Remember, our purpose, our aim here, as we've spoken about in the last episode and from episode 1, when we started this podcast, is to empower entrepreneurs for today's business landscape. It's light-hearted discussion, but we deliver strategic business insights. And we've touched a number of industries, and still touching all these industries has really revealed so much information that could help entrepreneurs, business owners, people looking to grow their businesses, people looking to innovate. So, you can't do that if you're not taking care of your customers.
Of course not.
And tonight, we want to take care of the customers. You guys out there are part of our stakeholders. You are part of us. And we want to help you to understand as you grow your business and as you start your businesses, what you need to look at in terms of customer experience for your business. So we've gone through how to analyze yourself as an entrepreneur, how to analyze your ideas, how to look at your opportunities. We have a very special guest tonight. And let me give you this guy's bio. The bio is laden. So I'm just going to run through some quick points and try not to do him a disservice. So he's a business leader and innovation strategist with over 20 years expertise in delivering solutions across diverse industries. And we're going to hear more about that. He's a CEO and Chief Innovation Officer at Plain White Table, Inc., an innovation strategy firm helping companies to develop innovation capacity and design new products, services, and delightful experiences for their customers. We want to talk about that. And in terms of his professional career, he was previously CEO of Ferreira Optical Limited, where he led the digital transformation of the company. And under his tenure, the company received the TTMA Supplier of Services Award. The list goes on and on here. Immediate past chairperson of the NOVA Committee at the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry. He also served as a member of the TTBS, that's the Trinidad and Tobago Bureau of Standards, National Mirror Committee for Innovation Management. So you're hearing all the innovation coming through. He still finds time, my friends, to lecture master's programs at 3 institutions. We're talking here about the University of the West Indies, Arthur Lockjack Global School of Business, and Sital College. And Stuart, we ain't finished yet, you know?
No?
He's still actively involved in youth development. That's why he's here. And he's the coordinator of Northgate College Male Empowerment Initiative. He's also a former fitness trainer and, a Latin dance teacher.
All that?
So let's welcome to the Big Potato Podcast tonight, Mr. Lorenzo Hodges. Lorenzo, welcome.
Gentlemen, thank you. I'm pleased to be here. It really is an honor. You guys have been doing an excellent job over the last, is this your second year? I know this is your second season.
Second season, first year.
But right, so you guys have been doing an excellent job of just unveiling the truths and key insights and so on for entrepreneurs to build their businesses. I believe that anyone who is involved in that kind of endeavor is involved in a very noble endeavor. So commendations to you all. And thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure, man. It's an honor. And again, another survivor, Stuart.
Survivor of Arthur Lockjack.
In specific, IMBDI. The IMBDI in specific. Cohort 1, Lorenzo. So
that's right.
Congratulations. A person who has really laid the foundation and set the trend in where that program is concerned. So commendations to you as well.
Thank you.
And we want to keep this conversation very brisk tonight, because I want to say brisk, we're keeping it flowing, because there's so much to touch on when you're talking about customer experience. So let's jump into our first segment, which is called What Caught Our Eye. Of course, you know what that is about. Key entrepreneurial insights on stories of significance that would have come across our attention probably over the last few days or so. So Stuart, what caught your eye this week?
Well, actually, what caught my eye this week, to me, some huge historic news. I came across this article, What Branding Google a Monopoly Really Means for Us. If people not familiar with the story or what happened within the last couple of days, Google was actually, in court for an antitrust matter.
Yes.
And the judge ruled that they were guilty of promoting monopolistic tendencies and activities. And so Google actually, I believe, is still waiting for the, not punishment, but the sentence in terms of what they will have to do to accommodate for their transgressions. But basically, a couple of things from the article really stuck out to me. They say that Google's anti-competitive actions include paying billions of dollars annually for exclusive agreements with companies, including Apple and Samsung, so that they'll be the preferred browser on those devices. They actually garner 90% of web searches. Yeah, 90% of the web searches are done through Google, and they generated over $300 billion in revenue in 2023. And they actually are so large. And the fact that they were a monopoly in the search engine category, they were able to wield unprecedented global influence, capable of shaping your thoughts, opinions, purchases, and votes, especially in this year. So my question to wrap it up is, because we're discussing the customer journey, customer behavior, I want to get from Lorenzo, if they were to break up Google, which is not going to happen anytime soon, but if they were to break it up and they were to come into existence a whole new suite of search engines, everyone has a new option, how would that impact customer behavior, especially in the awareness, that consideration, that analysis of your decision in that early phase of the customer journey? How do you, Lorenzo, think that having multiple search engines, because right now everyone will just run a SEO to Google, run some Google ads.
You're putting on your spot, but this is good because I have been following that particular case, and I found it fascinating. It reminds me of the antitrust case against Microsoft, which would have been maybe 20 years ago. That was in relation to the Internet Explorer browser at the time, and Microsoft was accused of using monopolistic power by installing Internet Explorer as the default browser on their operating system and so on, which gave them an edge. And this is similar in the case of Google, similar kind of case. From what I saw in reports, they are definitely going to appeal the case, and it was reported that potentially this might actually end up reaching the Supreme Court. So interesting things ahead. To address your question about the awareness part for customers and what it would mean, this will definitely have impact. The thing is that customers find out stuff based on where they are at, okay? And it's always key, especially from a business standpoint, to meet your customers where they are at. In searching, that's how they often find out. So social media and ads and so on would be a main point of exposure for them to become aware of businesses, about products, about different services that are on offer. But search is one of the prevalent ways in which people not just become aware, but would also go through their own evaluation based on their level of interest in a particular product. And so if Google is going to lose its share of basket, because they are not the only search engine, they are the dominant search engine. We still have Bing, and there are other search engines like DuckDuckGo and others that are emerging and trying to really contend for some of the market share that Google has enjoyed over the last period of time. Now, SEO, if you have shaped all of your SEO techniques, so your search engine optimization, SEO, if you've shaped all of your SEO tactics and strategy around optimizing it for the Google search engine, then the game will change. That's on the business side, right? So the game will change once everything is no longer heavily dependent on Google, because different search engines use different algorithms or different criteria for ranking the information that appears in their search. Interestingly, I found out last week, I think end of last week, that OpenAI, who is the company behind ChatGPT, and many people may know ChatGPT, it's a generative AI chatbot service. It's an artificial intelligence chatbot service that you can talk to by text, and it will give you intelligent responses and so on. OpenAI is coming out with their own, I think Search GPT is the name. I could be misquoting the name, but they are coming out with another search engine. So let me step back a bit and address the question a bit more directly. As it pertains to companies, you would need to rethink your SEO strategy. I don't think in the immediate short term it will change drastically until the what's the word? Penalty is fully imposed on Google, right? I don't think that is going to immediately affect us in one way or another. I think because they're asking them essentially to break up the company, which is the big thing. We will still have access to do searches through Google. However, you might not, for example, have it as your default search engine as in users might not have it as their default search engine on their phones, which is the arrangement they have with Android and with iOS through Apple. Okay, so it's all about access, but people have already over the years built an appetite for the Google search engine. So I expect the habit of it, even when it may not be the default, I expect that there will be some people who will still choose to go to google.com, as in they'll type in google.com and search for it there. Just as even though bing.com is the default search engine on the Internet Explorer browser, there are many people who still go to google.com on the, well, Internet Explorer is now called Edge. On the Edge browser, there are many people who still go to that particular browser. So it depends on how consumer preference goes. If clients start gravitating to the newer options because they're now given choice changes the game. And so if over time that shifts, it means businesses have to shift their strategy so that you could gain the exposure that you need across all of the channels. Again, the browser through which we would search would only be one channel. Search engines, social media will be another channel. And then, of course, you do have other digital media and traditional media. And so you want to maintain as broad a mix of channels through which you would drive awareness about your products and services so that you're no longer just dependent on the Google search engine as the thing that would drive traffic to your website and to your business. I hope that I could go further, but I hope that
No, that was perfect.
The question.
That was perfect. And actually, you know what they say? They say the most searched thing on Microsoft Edge is how to download Google Chrome.
Correct, right? They really have been dominant particularly over the last decade. Right? Microsoft, Bing, and even so in the browser wars, Microsoft, even though it still comes installed, as in their browser still comes installed on devices and so on. Chrome outstripped Edge years ago and is the number one the number one browser. And likewise, Google outstripped Yahoo search engine and all of the others that preceded them. I mean, I could call names, but depending on who your audience is, the names will sound very, very, very foreign to them. Right. Right. So, I mean, I've been fortunate. I remember my very first search on the web, my very first day using the thing called the internet. Right. I remember I was as an intern on my first summer job. So around this time, years ago, I was at my first job at Phoenix Park Gas Processors. I was an accounting intern. And I know we'll talk a bit about my career, but I was an accounting intern there. And, my first couple of days, the IT manager said, here's a computer. Go ahead, have fun. We'll get you some work to do. The person you're reporting to will come check you and give you some stuff to do. But here's a computer. And the default page at that time was the yahoo.com webpage.
Right.
And I got lost just clicking and couldn't get back. And eventually I learned that I didn't need to get back to where I started because the internet is just, everything is connected. But I remember being lost, but having a really good time with just how much information was accessible back then. But things have changed so much. And I expect that the shift here we will see a shift, perhaps maybe a small shift in the number of browsers. We may see a shift in the search engines. Interestingly, over the last few years, TikTok has become one of the main search engines. Right? So the places that people search most are google.com, youtube.com, and TikTok.
Yes.
And those are top. Now, TikTok was not designed to be a search engine, but the number of searches that go through TikTok is phenomenal. Right. So it means that the lines are being blurred as to what people consider to be search engines. And it comes back to the point I made earlier. As an entrepreneur, as a business leader, you have to be thinking about where is your customer.
Yep.
So if your customer is in malls, then establish yourself in a mall. That's in the physical space paradigm, right? When you're dealing with a brick and mortar context, find where they are. Location. We know the cliche. That is one of the cliches that holds true. You gotta get the location right. On the digital side, the same question has to be answered. Where are my clients gravitating to? Are they gravitating to specific kinds of browsers, a specific search engine? In which case, that's where you may want your ads to go through. Are they gravitating to specific social media? So not social media generic. Are they more an Instagram audience, TikTok audience, Facebook audience? These are different kinds of audiences. And you have to be aware, where are they spending their time? If you get and understand where they're spending their time, then you have to get to work to create the right content and the right interventions, meaning the things that will intersect with them where they are. It's like if you are walking down the street, and I remember when I met my wife, so I'll use this as a good analogy.
Gosh.
Right? When I first saw my wife, I saw this lady walking in the distance. And I remember, I am not sure how much time passed, but I remember just staring and thinking, wow, who is she? And my eyes followed her. Hopefully my mouth was closed and my jaw wasn't dropped. I can't say, because I just remember staring at her and following her every step and how graceful she was. And it's like that. You have to look at your intersection. How do you interact with and intersect with your clients where they are? She intersected with my life, and my life changed thereafter. And if we use that analogy in business, you want to be thinking, how do I intersect with my clients to catch their gaze in a meaningful way that would cause them to want to enter into a relationship with you?
Fantastic. I mean, Lorenzo, thank you so very much, because I mean, this is supposed to be the quick insight segment of the show, and so many quick insights are coming there rapidly. And I hope you guys are keeping up, because we're still in what, quarter hour? And Stuart, thanks for bringing that to the table, because it actually opened the door, I think, to a broad conversation that we can have about so many topics tonight. And it segues perfectly. And I would give my 2 cents on it inside of my what caught my eye this week. Because actually a lot of what you and Lorenzo just discussed caught my eye as well, but in a different way. In terms of the article I was looking at, or the story I was looking at, it said 7 customer or consumer experience trends in 2024. 7 customer experience trends in 2024. And this was on the IBM website in their blog section. So you guys could check it out as usual. We'll also post and share it with you. So make sure you sign up for our premium content, or send us an email to thebigpotatopodcast@gmail.com. Now, this was written in February. So Stuart and Lorenzo, this is a good time to do a spot check, because one of the things that will come up here is customer loyalty. And that is my response to what caught your eye, Stuart, because people have gotten so accustomed to using Google, and you guys mentioned it, that even depending on the outcome, while there are shifts, people may still continue going to Google for quite some time. But on the other side of that, as you will see in these trends, it's also very important to understand that generations are changing. And we may be the Google generation, or who knows, the Google before us, the generation before us probably was the Google generation and passed it on to us. But we are seeing so many different changes happening right before our eyes in businesses, in different industries, and the way that customers are interacting with our business. So let's do a quick spot check on what they said would be the 7 trends to look at for this year. And I would love to hear if you guys think these trends were spot on, seeing that we're now mid-year, a little past mid-year. So trend number 1, and here to talk about it one time, sustainability for customer satisfaction. And basically, in a nutshell, this means that there's a new generation of consumers, which means new approaches to customer relationships is required. So think about it. Depending on your age, maybe if you're in your 30s or 40s now, and your grandparents were customers back in the day for particular products and services, they would have gone about it in different ways than how your children would be making purchases and interacting with businesses right now. So they're saying Gen Z and millennials are 27% more likely to purchase from brands they believe care about them and their impact on people and the environment. So it's not just about putting content out there, as Lorenzo said. You must know your customer and you must know what will drive their buying and their purchasing and even their interest in your brand. Trend number 2, we're talking about omni-channel customer experience. Lorenzo spoke a lot about this just now, so I don't even need to go back into it too much. But you must meet your customers where they are. All right, customer interactions with your brand or with your business, they go through multiple touch points, even before they decide to interact with your brand. So you must obviously know that you have to have a strong brand presence, consistent messaging, but the right messages for the right platforms. And of course, trend number 3, investing in a valuable loyalty program. Now, loyalty programs, Stuart, loyalty programs. As an entrepreneur, we must remember that we must reward our customers. We want them to keep coming. We want them to continue being a part of our business for the long term. They're saying that 79% are likely to do business with your brand or with your company if you have a loyalty program in place, because they know they could trust you and they know that they could get something out of the relationship in addition to what they need at this point in time. Trend number 4, prioritizing customer access to information. And this is a big one. These days, one of the changes in the whole process is that customers, we all want more information. We want more control over the interactions with a company. So you must have things in place. Before you would have just dealt with a list of FAQs, but now times have changed. If you're able to, do you have a chatbot that gives customers unlimited access to ask questions and get information? Of course, if you have a website, you have a page, whatever it must be optimized. Information must be clear. Think about what your buyers would want to know, how they would want to know it, how should it be presented. That's a very important trend. Trend number 5, personalized experiences. This is very much self-explanatory. You want to, across your buyer journey, to have personalized experiences. We spoke about Google. They have so many companies, right? That you're even driving using Waze and now you're seeing things being promoted to you. You're using Google Maps and you're seeing things being promoted to you. All right? And that is just to name a few. Trend number 6, understanding the new technologies. How can you use AR? How can you use VR? We're seeing so many brands now, clothing brands, where it is you could look into the mirror and see how the clothing would look on you. Or even furniture stores like IKEA, where you could see how the furniture fits in your space on your iOS system. So there are so many opportunities in order to engage your customers in a different way. Not to mention trend number 7. All of this data, Stuart, coming right back to what caught your eye, that Google has. As a consumer, you want to make sure that this data is kept private. So I guess it goes right back to the antitrust. Right? And you want to make sure that this data is secure, that it's not being sold, it's not being bandied around, or you're seeing that we basically in a hackathon world right now, right? Where there are so many cybersecurity issues and incidents happening. Now, very quickly, because we must wrap up this segment. Lorenzo, those are the 7 trends. Any of them you think we missed the mark on thus far this year? Because they said this at the beginning of 2024. Now in August, where are we?
I think, and this is an area that I am particularly fascinated with, because in our practice, we put the customer at the center of everything that we do, and help clients to put the customer at the center of everything that they do. And so these CX trends are things that we try to track as best as possible at the start of the year, every year. So we look at different reports across the board. You have IBM has a report, Zendesk has a report, Salesforce has a pretty good report. So certainly your audience can check out some of those, because each of them would provide information about where CX is going, and even beyond that, other trends as well, like social commerce trends and other things. But I think these trends that you highlighted are well articulated, well captured, and there definitely has been movement in all of them on the issue of sustainability. That is growing, especially with the messaging around climate change and care for the environment and so on, with the earlier storm season that we've had this year. Beryl being the first of I think Beryl was the name of the first storm, right?
Yes.
That would have started wreaking havoc, starting in the Caribbean here, in the Eastern Caribbean, and then affecting other territories as it went further north. And so more and more people are growing in sensitivity to it. And the whole thing about the sustainability trend is, if you want loyalty to your customers to grow in loyalty, then your brand has to become more oriented to sustainability, meaning the way in which you build your business and conduct business, the way you manage your supply chain, the way you produce your products and everything. You have to have sustainability in mind and design that into your brand promise, which is the way you describe your product, but also be able to stand on it to show evidence that we are in fact doing that. We see Apple in their last set of products that they launched last year were announcing this is the most sustainable iPhone and the most sustainable Apple Watch that we've had, and that's because they're using reusable products and waste materials and designing them back into the creation of their product.
Yes.
They have a zero waste in terms of some of the accessories that they give you. So some time ago, years ago, people were complaining about no longer getting the brick part of the power strip with your device. You just get the cable now, and all of that is about providing you with less stuff that you will have to dispose of over time. So Apple has shifted, as an example, has shifted in their own sustainability, and they're changing public perception of their brand. Sustainability will remain top of mind. That omnichannel that you mentioned, absolutely. The issue of a loyalty program, I think, is not so new. That has been around a bit longer, but more and more businesses are considering, how do you roll it out? So in our case at Ferrero Optical, where I left last year, just before I left, we would have entered into an agreement to establish our own loyalty program as part of the Massy loyalty program, right? So, and that was with a view to how do we deepen our relationship with our customers by giving them more value when they shop with us. And there are two sides to that. On one side, they get more benefit because they can subsidize their purchase of their eye health care and their eyewear using points from the loyalty program. And of course, they benefit that every time they buy from us, they also earn more points, which they could use the next time that they buy from us, or they could use in the wider Massy ecosystem.
Yes.
But big inside of that, from the company standpoint, apart from the genuine benefits we wanted to give to them, there was also the longer term play that enabled us to give to them more in the future. What do I mean by that? It means that the loyalty program gets you data. And so it gives you richer data on the buying patterns of your customers, so you can know who is buying what and at what quantities, and then use that data to make better and more intelligent decisions about what you provide your customers going forward. Because out of the loyalty, as they express their loyalty through purchases and you get to know them better, you can then make better product selection choices about what you give to them. You could also have better timing for the product delivery, meaning what are the trends in quarter one or quarter two or quarter three or quarter four about who is buying what and when. Again, all of that data you could use and to drive analytics and just build greater intelligence around what does your customer need, and to of course give them what they need when they need it. There's a saying that I used to have with my team that I challenged. It was an overarching challenge, right? And part of our focus. And my thing was sell them before they arrive, right? And the concept behind that wasn't so much around the sales. It really was around how do you delight those customers. Selling them before they arrive means that I already have a good sense of what you are going to buy. So I'll make sure we have it. So when you arrive, you will not be disappointed. And that's the core of the concept. And so what a loyalty program allows you to do is to build a richer set of data around what your customers' preferences are. So again, by the time they walk into your store, I can say, hey, Stuart, glad to have you. I know you like rimless frames. Why? Because my data tells me that the last 5 times you came, you bought rimless frames. And so we have this specific one to the color that you like. Try this on. Just for you, right? So very personalized, which is different from Stuart arriving, knowing what he likes, and we act as if we don't know you, right? And so every business wants to build that kind of intelligence that allows them to warmly welcome customers in, and then make those customers feel like they are known and like they're being nurtured. And those are 2 important words. Known, that wow, they get me, they understand me. I would buy from these people because, again, there are coffee shops I go to. So there's a particular coffee shop that I go to, and for any time I walk through the door, they will say to me, chicken pies, Lorenzo, right? And because they know it's something that I buy often. Again, that loyalty part, and they have a loyalty card in that case. The last trend I'll point out, because I don't think you wanted me to comment on all, but I'm a little challenged because I think all of them are quite interesting, but I think the issue of personalization is critical, right? That personalized experiences using data and generative AI, that is an extension of the point I was making there, because I think the loyalty program gives you some of that and the opportunity to have richer personalization. But AI, for it to really be useful, you have to have data at the back end. If you do, and so what many people try to do, unfortunately, is to start with AI and you can start with AI. So let me be clear. You can start using generative AI in many different ways, but AI, or artificial intelligence, gets better trained when you have a bank of data about your customers already, in which case the AI could sort through and create stories from patterns that it sees in the data that you already have. So you want to start with, or you should already ideally be on the path of having a data bank about your customers. So by the time you attach some machine learning or artificial intelligence engine to it, it's being fed by information that knows your customers. That way you get richer personalization, because you don't necessarily need a human identifying, and there are humans who do it very well today, right? That will know. I remember Stuart, the last time he came in, he wanted rimless frames, or he's an Air Jordan fan, and so by the time he walks through the door, we pulling some retro classic Jordans for Stuart. I don't know if Stuart still plays basketball. I think he still
Yes,
schools still is in the habit of schooling people.
I still dabble in destroying people.
There you go. Right. So you might know Stuart personally, but how do you scale beyond the individual salesperson in the store? If you are a small shop, then you can handle that with a very, very small team. But is that sustainable over time? If you are to grow, you need systems that will help you to grow beyond the intelligence that one person has who knows that customer. If the data is in the system, then it means AI can augment your human team. In which case, there could be a prompt when Stuart arrives or when Stuart is trying things on in your store that says, by the way, Stuart, 7 of the last 10 times Stuart came in here, he bought these kinds of shoes. So make sure you offer him something like that. And that could be a digital tip on an app, on your point of sale device, so that you could upsell right there, or somewhere that it's being fed to you on a tablet or whatever, and so on. Again, that personalization will help you to hit the mark, which is what it's all about. But in this case, it's AI helping you to do that.
Perfect. Well, honestly, I think this was a great show. Good night, everyone. How much information? We now started, right? But it's like the show already packed. All right, so there's nothing I could really add there. You're too intelligent. But what I want to simplify is what is CX. So basically what we're speaking about is consumer experience.
Yes.
All right, so I want to just discuss, because I can't really add anything to what you all said. So what I want to do is discuss the CX pyramid, which is a framework for powerful experiences. And it starts at the bottom with furnish information I could use. Then it goes to solve your problems when I ask. Notice it's not my problems. Solve your problems when I ask. Then it goes up to resolve my needs when I ask. And then it goes up to what Lorenzo was just speaking about. Provide what I need without me asking. And then the pinnacle of the pyramid is make me better, safer, and more powerful. So that really is the ultimate in terms of providing a powerful experience for your customer, your consumer. So there's nothing I can really add there. You all covered all the bases. So I just want to explain to people what specifically CX meant and provide a little framework.
Of course, and we really appreciate that. I mean, at the end of the day, this is supposed to be, it is actually, the What Caught Our Eye segment. But the conversation tonight is a little different. And it's because we're talking about customer experience. And it is such a pivotal area for all businesses. But this being an entrepreneurial podcast, I hope all the entrepreneurs out there are keenly taking in all the information, because this could be the game changer for your business today. If it is, you can start looking at your customer experience strategy, which we will talk about coming up in our next segment. So stick around. This is the Big Potato Podcast, and that was What Caught Our Eye, brought to you by IBOMAQ. Whether you're seeking guidance or solutions for your business, we're here to help. Contact us via IBOMAQ868@gmail.com. That's IBOMAQ868@gmail.com. And let's discuss how we can collaborate for your success. Yep. Welcome back to the Big Potato Podcast special edition tonight. Breaking down CX. Yeah, we're talking about customer experience. You always hear these words, these terms bandied around. Customer experience, customer service, customer loyalty, customer, what again? Journey. I mean, so much. And it's so vast, but yet so important.
Don't forget customer churn.
Oh, how could I forget that? And we have one of the very experienced, knowledgeable minds in the whole customer experience and innovation field, Mr. Lorenzo Hodges, online with us. And I mean, he has been giving us so many gems, so many bombshells already for the episode. So many insights. But Lorenzo, we want to know, who is Lorenzo? We want to know, how did Lorenzo get started? Was he always in this field? I heard you mention earlier you started off your first job as an accountant or in the accounting department. So I want you to briefly just give us a bit of your journey in terms of, this is an entrepreneurial podcast, as we said. So we ask all our guests to give us a breakdown in terms of how they got involved in entrepreneurship. You know, we wouldn't want to spend too much time on it, not to diminish your accomplishments, but we want to get back to the customer experience conversation as well. So tell us a bit more.
Sure. So I, earlier in my career, really was into user experience design. So user experience design really applies in a digital design context. So I used to build websites, and there is the technical side of writing code to build websites and web applications, which is a back end thing that no one sees. But then there is the front end experience. So I used to focus or put a lot of my effort on what will the user experience, what are the user's needs? User meaning user of the app or user of the website. What are the user's needs? And then from there, design to delight that user. So they'll have a frictionless, smooth, easy to use experience in using whatever the software is. And I would have shifted from there into CX a bit later, because I started broadening beyond design of experiences for digital to just wider experience design. So I consider myself to be, among other things, to be an experience designer. And so customer experience design fits inside of that. Just a bit in terms of my journey. Yep, my first degree is in accounting. Coming out from that, I chose to switch careers. I got exposed to web design during my first degree, interestingly, and decided to change careers. That as soon as I finished my degree, I was going to start studying web design. I got certified. I'm a master certified internet web designer. And so in practicing that or putting that into practice, I later started teaching that. And so there's a pattern where in many things in my life where I learn things, I then have been blessed with the opportunity to teach others. And you'll see that pattern throughout my career, where in many of the areas where I've acquired expertise, I also then share that through teaching or lecturing. So I would have, at that time, when I did web design, is when I actually got into business part-time. So I would have started a small company doing websites for others. And that was my first venture into entrepreneurship. I later started a website that is like trinituner.com for cars. So this was, think of the Trinituner for Latin and ballroom dance. So I had the same version of it. It was not a very successful venture. It was a fun venture to run. We made no money in doing it. I was terrible at the money side of it, and so learned some interesting lessons in the process there. Later on, I would have started working for a software development company. I worked there for like 14 years. But I went through different roles from my early days doing technical, actually building websites and doing user experience design, to more client-facing roles. And later on, probably spent the last 8 years or so in different management roles, from managing marketing, managing the innovation and new business unit, managing their mobile messaging platform, managing sales at one point. So I would have had different kinds of roles, which gave me good breadth in my career. While there, I also part-time started playing white table. And at that time, again, it's part-time, so it would be whatever I can do. So again, not a lot of activity, but some activity, really starting to provide innovation, capacity development work, working with or providing training for executives and leaders who needed to learn how to build a culture of innovation and how to stimulate innovation within their organizations. In 2018, that's January 2018, is when I went full-time. I became a full-time entrepreneur and started building Plain White Table in a deeper way. So for 2 years, that's all I was doing. And it went well. One of my clients, Ferrero Optical, hired me as CEO.
Right.
And so with that opportunity, I essentially parked Plain White Table. In fact, I thought I was not going back to it at the time. But I ran Ferrero Optical for 3 years, and it was fascinating because I moved from, of course, running my own company to running someone else's company.
Yeah.
But applying all of the things that I had been teaching and supporting other businesses to do, I was now at the helm applying those things. So we were able to transform the business inside of the pandemic, which is the most challenging time. But a couple of highlights in there, in terms of how innovation applied itself, is we would have been the first organization in the Caribbean to launch a telehealth service. Telehealth is using digital technology and telecommunications technology to deliver health services. And in our case, you could see your optometrist and your optician via our telehealth service. But also we won awards while we were there and so on. It's just fruit of our transformation process, which I think was really rich, very deep, inside of a time when the world was very, very unstable. We were building as best as we could. And of course, for me, I took time inside of that to take care of my team as best as I can, because it was a very sensitive time, as you all would appreciate. High levels of anxiety for everyone in the context of COVID-19. And so it's a time when leaders really had to show how empathetic they were and put their staff and those they serve above their own preference and self-interest. And I think that is one of the biggest things that should have benefited all entrepreneurs in the time of COVID-19. The second thing that should have benefited everyone really was the opportunity to change, become more agile, and deal with the unknowns of the future. Right?
Certainly.
But just to wrap up, I would have left Ferrero Optical last year to go back into Plain White Table, which I'm building now.
Excellent. Well, I just want to jump straight into it. I want to jump into customer journey mapping. All right. So customer journey mapping, basically the goal is to make it easy for your customer to find out about your business, to make it easy for your customer to find your business, make it easy for the customers to trust your business, make it easy for the customers to get what they're looking for, and make an experience that the customers will want to share with others. And the whole customer journey building blocks basically would be data, experience, and engagement. So my question, in the process of building the customer journey, there's the initial point where you start with building the customer persona. So I'd like if you could speak to what the customer persona is and how you go about building that for the audience.
Sure. I think just to make a plug, customer journey mapping is one of those simple and accessible techniques that a lot of people don't use. And sometimes I think it's because the awareness is just not there. But it's one of those things that could be very, 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 very rewarding for your business. So if you, as an entrepreneur and as a business leader, have not yet taken time to map the customer journey, it's something that you have to do.
Yes.
So your customer journey is just that. It is not the company journey, it's the customer journey. And so you want to be thinking about where is your customer at any point in time and at any stage in that journey. But the question then is, well, who is the customer that you're trying to map the journey for? So if we were to look at the coffee consumption experience, right? A client who drinks a lot of coffee. I do not drink a lot of coffee. but I do enjoy the ritual of going to coffee shops and having coffee. But there are those who are hardcore coffee drinkers. So someone who cannot start their day without a cup of coffee is very different from someone like me who is looking for the experience of the coffee shop and the interaction and the social interaction around it. And that's different from the person who is hustling to work, and that's the quickest hot drink that you can get. And
You need it.
Correct, right? The need is different because the person is different. And so if we're looking at the persona, your persona identifies certain characteristics of the person or the people that you will be mapping the journey for, because each of those people I just described in those scenarios has different attributes. The person who is a parent who has kids to drop to school and is middle-aged in a management role is a very different person from the person who is single, no kids, no spouse, and is a student in university or a student in secondary school. Just by their demographic composition, each of those is a very, very different person. So your persona essentially is trying to identify characteristics about the people, and often you use that as an archetype or as an icon or an example of many customers that are like that person. So you will give the person a name. So you'll say, you know what, I'll call this persona Sheila. Sheila is the 22-year-old lady who just graduated from the university and is now starting in her first is in an entry-level job. All right, so you put those attributes down. So for all of your customers, look at who your customers are. So if you are running a business already and you're not now looking to start a business, if you're already running a business, think about your customers. Think about, are there common traits amongst your average customers? Is there a common gender? Is there a common age? If it's mixed, then you want to, again, break those into segments, and then you may identify a specific persona for each of those segments. And segment is just a word to say, if you go to group them based on common characteristics, you identify a persona for each of those, identify the attributes, whatever you can. So it doesn't have to be too complex. Age, gender, some lifestyle factors, interests, preferences that they have, habits that they may have, psychographics, so how they think, how they see life, their worldview. You could capture things like that about those customers, and that would be your persona. Ideally, you want to do many of them, but of course, if there's one persona that buys from you all the time, then you just have to do one persona. If I think about Ferrara Optical, or any eyewear chain, let me not make it specific. Right, you would have clients of different ages. You will have elderly clients. You will have young clients. Based on those groupings, you create a persona, because it always starts with the who. The who changes everything.
Now, in terms of that persona or those personas, when you create them, that leads me into the journey. And you hear people always talking about the customer journey. All right, so now you have the persona or personas, and now what do you do next? Because we want to be very practical tonight. As I said, it's a special edition tonight. We are going to help you guys really tune into how you can advance your customer experience and make this something that you put into practice from tonight, from tomorrow. What should you look at? So you have your customer personas, and now we're going to look at the actual journey. You know, you hear people saying that you should go backwards. You hear some people saying, no, you need to start from the beginning, where people start interacting with your brand. You know, where's a good place to start? Because earlier you mentioned that you want to get ultimately to the point where you know the customer so well that anytime they enter your store or visit your page, you know exactly what they're coming for. or you have a very good idea of what they're coming for. So you could create that sort of Kano model moment where you delight in the customer. So tell us a little bit more. We have the personas. Now what next? Especially in specific context for the entrepreneurs that are now coming up and may not have the full access to rich and vast big data.
Sure. So next, once you have your personas, you're then looking to identify the different stages of the journey for that customer. Again, you may have common stages based on the nature of your product or service. There may be common stages across all your personas. Sometimes the stages might change, but often the stages depend on the specific product or service that you're offering. So if you're a bank, for example, and someone is coming in for a loan, it may be, some of the stages might be different from if you're a bank and someone is coming in to use the ATM to withdraw money, right? And I think it's very obvious in that case, right? So the person who's the experience for someone who is just coming in to do something, they already have an account, they already have a bank card with you. Very, very different service from someone who's coming in for a loan that has to bring in a bunch of documents for that loan. Different experience also for someone who is coming in to set up a savings account. Again, depending on the product or service that you're offering, the stages may be different. So you want to look at each of your services, identify the stages. These stages, while they pertain to your service offering, you are capturing the customer journey. And I want to emphasize that, because the mistake that many make is they map the customer journey like a process map, which is looking at what are our internal stages for running this service. The customer journey starts even before the things that you are in control of. And that's often the difference between when you look at customer service and customer experience. You're looking at what is the experience of that customer. So that customer starts with, as one of you rightly pointed out, awareness. They may not currently be a client of yours. So it may be someone thinking, geez, boy, I feel for coffee. Let me search for coffee shops near me. In which case, as part of my journey is starting with a search. I'm looking to identify options. After I identify that option, it may eventually get me to your company, because your coffee shop might be the one that is closest, or that might just have the right offerings for me in that moment. So when you map the journey, you want to start with that awareness ideally, and then look at, okay, after the client is aware, as in they've found your brand, they've found your company, they then going into a consideration stage, right? So they have to evaluate, well, should I buy from this company? How much do I need to know? You know, in which case they're looking to go to a website, looking at, might be a Google search, they might be on social media checking out what photos you have on Instagram of your coffee and of your pastries and of the store and different things like that, because at that point in time, they are evaluating where do they go to get their coffee. All right, so map the stages. Some stages would look like awareness, consideration. I think you all would have mentioned awareness, consideration, decision, retention, advocacy, which is after. So decision is the choice to buy from you. I often add inside of it, there's the choice to buy from you, but then I would add as a stage, the sale or the transaction. So if it's a coffee shop that is brick and mortar only, you can't order online, you can't call in your order, you have to come physically in. Then as part of that customer's journey is the arrival at your store, or the in-store part of the experience has to be captured as a stage, right? So don't just capture the teller, at the teller moment or the point of sale moment where they make the purchase, because part of their journey may be that I came in and there's a particular, again, I mentioned a particular coffee shop that I go to, and often it's to connect with others. And so part of the journey would be, even before I order anything, I'm connecting with my friend or business colleague that I went there to meet. And then we sit together and decide, right, who's paying? Okay, but I'll cover you. Let me order for you. So by the time I get to the cashier, I may either be ordering for myself or I'm ordering for a group. And those things change the nature of the experience. So remember, the journey mapping is for you to map what the experience is like and for you to design a richer experience. So think in terms of what those stages are, those high level stages in the process. So it may be, again, awareness. How do you find out about the company? Consideration. Other models talk about evaluation, simply the person thinking through their options to make a choice. The decision is when they actually make the choice. Then would be maybe the purchase, or there may be a visit required. If you have your business is a hospital, the process would look differently because you're not coming to buy anything. You're coming for patient care. So there will be a different stage that you will capture if that's what you are doing. If it's something like one of those delivery services where you have to pick up your packages from a skybox, again, it's a different service. What are the stages? Well, when the person signs up, there will be one part of the journey for when they become a client, but then you may map a different journey for the stages when the person is coming in to collect stuff from you. That's if you're not delivering to their door, because that delivery to them is part of one of the stages that the customer will experience. So I think you are getting my emphasis, which is, what is the customer going through?
That's the most significant part, what the customer is going through, not necessarily, as you said, the business process and the different stages of your process. You need to look at what the customer is going through in all of those different stages, because the customer has stages of their own.
Yeah, correct, right? So you want to almost get into the mind of the customer, because you're capturing their journey. Part of their journey may include travel to you, right? And so on the other side is, if you do this well, you have and could identify many opportunities within which you could create delight for that customer. Okay. But let's go back to the stages. So remember, if you're mapping the stages, look at what are the stages that are relevant to your business, because the generic ones, awareness to advocacy, will capture important stages, but you have to look at what are the stages specific to your particular company. If it's something that has back and forth, that customer may have to come in. Sometimes they're coming in for information from you or to get forms, which certain services, I won't call any names in Trinidad, often require you to come in to get the forms, to then take it back home, to then come back in. So on that customer's journey, collecting the form is a stage. Going back home to fill out the forms is a stage. Then coming back in again is a stage. So you may very well, in mapping the journey, uncover many, many gaps and opportunities, or points where the customer is going through pains to journey with you, or to experience your service. So those will be the stages. Hopefully that's clear enough. I mean, we could talk about the specific touch points, which will be next, because at each stage there may be different touch points that serve the customer. So if we're looking at awareness, a touch point may be your website. A touch point may be your social media channels, right? And so you want to capture what those are. A pro tip, I think, is, especially in the world today, you want to always be thinking about what are the digital touch points in your customer journey. And if in some cases you don't have a digital option, then you can start in your innovation process, start thinking about how might we introduce a digital option to enhance each of the stages, because each stage has the opportunity to be enhanced in one way or the other. So your touch points, what are your touch points? Your touch points really are the interfaces or points of interface that your customer would have with you. Your website is a touch point. As I said, social media. Your store is a touch point. Your phone line, if they're talking to a customer service agent, is a touch point. All right. So you want to capture each one of those points of interface with your business.
Perfect. Well said. Again, so much information, Kendall.
Without ask, they're just going through everything perfectly.
Yeah, well, before we go with this break, I wanted to just touch on what is said with awareness. There's one company, it's a toothbrush company, which does a perfect job at that, where the bristles will change color to make you aware of your need. So they go that far back in the journey to make sure that they could touch you at that point in time so that you become aware that you have this need and then hopefully follow up with a purchase. Now, you also spoke about abandoning the journey. So there are 2 points where people tend to abandon the journey: between conversion and purchase, and then between evaluation and repeat purchase. So I just wanted to add that those 2 points where if you map out the map properly, you could see where there are places where you could tighten up, streamline, make it more attractive to the customer, and really give them more value and really ensure that they follow through and become repeat buyers.
Yeah, that's right. And that actually gets dealt with even better in the next stage in the process, which is where you really want to get a sense of how do customers feel at each stage, right? So of course you have the stages, you identify the different touch points related to each stage of the process, but you then want to look at, well, are people delighted at each stage? Are they frustrated at different stages? And so we talk about the moments that matter. You want to identify those moments that matter. And there are some things that matter more to customers, and there are some things that matter less to customers. So identify where those moments are that matter. And of course, you design those as the priority ones that have to be rich again and delightful. So you want to take some measurement there. If you have feedback from customers that, well, they let you have it over the phone last week, or they are always complaining about a particular thing, that's a red flag for you. And it's a good thing, meaning if you have the feedback, it's a good thing to have the feedback, because that basically directs you to a specific stage in the process that you could put your work into designing a richer experience for them at that stage. So if you look at the map, you would see stages, you would see the touch points, you will then see for each of those stages, and what some people do is they use emoticons. So a smiley face, a deadpan face, a frustrated face, or an angry icon, or so. So different, it captures the different emotions. So at a glance, because the point of a journey map, apart from the information, is you do want a visual representation that at a glance, when you see it, it gives you and your team a view into where the opportunities are for enhancing things.
Perfect. I mean, we definitely don't have to ask the questions tonight. The answers are coming. Lorenzo is definitely an expert in his field, because it's almost as if he knows exactly what the audience needs before we even ask. And on that note, we take a quick break, and when we return, more insights on the way. From Ibadan to Helyard, from slavery to independence, learn how Helyard, the Trinidad All-Stars, created the Trini identity and how that was leveraged for our independence. Get your copy on Amazon now. We are having a customer experience conversation tonight, one that is surely about to transition your business and propel you in the right direction, especially if you're in the growth stage right now. Maybe you just started up, or maybe a mature business. For all entrepreneurs out there, we hope that this conversation helps you tonight. This is the Big Potato Podcast. Yours truly, Kendall. I'm here. Stuart is here as well. And we have our good buddy Lorenzo Hodges. Yeah, a master in his field. Definitely so. Letting us know all the insights on customer experience tonight. Now, Lorenzo, this is the final segment. And there's so much we could talk about. Definitely a part 2 to this episode has to be on the way before the season is out. But let me just go to customer experience in relation to the bottom line, because this is where it really matters, right? I mean, even if you want to talk about triple bottom line and all these other things, we're in business to make money. And as a business owner, an entrepreneur, a CEO, you name it, you know this, right? The shareholders want to know. All right, so all of this customer experience stuff, because we could all stand here and probably list out 10 to 20 different businesses and that have very difficult customer experiences, very difficult moments, all right, to go through the journey. So why is it so important, and how is the customer experience really tied to your revenue generation amongst the other business strategies and strategic plans that you have for your business that you want to have and positive outcomes?
Yeah, this is a really important question, because at the end of the day, if you don't have customers, you don't really have a business. All right. And so the requirement then is to provide for your customers the kind of experience that would cause them to buy from you, and preferably buy from you repeatably over and over and over and over and over. At the core of it really is the relationship that you have with your customer. And so you want to build trust over time. Trust itself is currency. Where there is more trust, there is more reliance and a greater orientation to buy from you. Where trust is broken, or where the experience itself is frustrating, what you're doing is increasing the amount of friction that the customer would have with dealing with you. So they then would maybe asking themselves, well, why should I come back to this company when it is so frustrating every time? Is there someone out there or some competitor that will give me a richer experience than the one I'm having now with my current provider? And so if you are the current provider, richer customer experience can change the game for you by helping you to not lose the customers that you have been losing over time, but also to attract more customers that may not have considered you before, that may one day then become advocates for your business. So to speak to the issue of your sales and the bottom line and so on, your sales and bottom line really, of course, we know is the thing that executives care about a lot. And of course, I think executives care about their customers too. But what ends up happening is the conversation stays around customer service in a lot of businesses. And customer service really is like a single touch point, whereas customer experience is all encompassing. You are looking at the wider experience for the customer, which then means that a wider set of team members and roles within your company have ownership over the customer experience. What do I mean by that? If I'm to use Stuart's example about the toothbrush, they understand that to trigger the next purchase, the customer needs something that tells them, hey, it's time to change your toothbrush. Who handles that? Is it the customer service team that will change the toothbrush? No, the customer service team is not in the business or in the practice of designing toothbrushes and bristles and working out what chemicals to use for the colors and to allow it to change. Your manufacturing or your product design team is responsible for that. right? And in the same way, there are different roles within the organization, within your organization, that have to take on a CX or customer experience responsibility in order to ensure the customer then gets the best treatment and then chooses to come back to you. So some of the metrics now, so there's that, the roles involved will are going to change once you're dealing with customer experience, and means as part of your strategy, you want to have CX as something that everyone owns, right? You want customer experience as one of those strategic pillars within your organization, and to not just have CX as a side thing.
Right.
CX itself would have certain metrics that you would track that would help you. So you have metrics like your customer lifetime value, right? You have your customer churn rate and your customer retention rate. So your customer lifetime value, like if I could just speak to that one,
Of course.
right? The customer lifetime value, you're looking at over time, how much money will this customer spend with you? So the person may buy toothbrush one, but then would they stay with your brand? If they stay with your brand over the next, well, you're going to be brushing your teeth until you expire.
Until they fall out.
Right? Correct, right? Until, your situation changes, right? Your oral infrastructure changes, right? Right? You're going to be brushing your teeth. So you can have someone buying your toothbrushes literally for the rest of their life. And so if you are to attach a value to each product, each item that they buy, and you add that up over their lifetime, that customer may have spent thousands of dollars for you.
On a simple toothbrush.
Correct, right? Because they're buying toothbrush after toothbrush, or they might be on toothbrushes, they might be on manual toothbrushes today, but that customer could become one who buys the electronic toothbrush tomorrow and then has to buy the refills for that, and so on and so on and so on. Right? So you can measure that based on, well, how much has the customer spent in the past, and then you can forecast what would these customers be spending if they had to stay with us over a longer period of time, and so on. So you're measuring your customer lifetime value. That gives you a sense of where would we be in the future in our overall business performance. If customer lifetime value is reducing, that's not encouraging, because it means your future sales and profitability is going to be reducing. Yes. If your customer churn rate, which is the rate at which you lose customers, is increasing, that's a big concern for any business leader, right? Especially if you're losing more than you're gaining. And so, interestingly, I was reading an article that I was considering for what is the term that you use? Things that catch your gaze. What caught our eye?
Yes, what caught our eye.
There is a product called the humane pin, right? It's an AI and artificial intelligence pin that you wear, and the whole idea was that you wouldn't need your phone. And
is that the one you attach to your lapel and you use your hand as the screen? But that's correct. Failed completely,
it will project
right?
on your hand and give you information and so on. So you wouldn't need to be immersed in your screen, on your cell phone screen all the time. They touted it as the future of devices, right? Of what you would use as your main personal device and so on. And the headline actually stated that humans' daily returns are outpacing their sales.
Wow.
Right? So there are more customers bringing back products to them because they're disappointed in what they've received than there are customers buying. So
the reviews have been poor.
Sorry?
The reviews have been very, very poor.
The reviews have been poor, right? And so a lot of course, these are all early adopter clients. And what you want with your early adopters is your early adopters produce your base of ambassadors, the people who will be your champions to say, yeah, this was good. I love this product. I endorse this product. And then the next round of people that would buy, the early majority, will be inspired by your first set of customers that would have bought from you. But to the point about your churn rate, if your churn rate is off, then you have a problem. And so again, back to CX, you want to ensure you have a solid CX strategy so you minimize those kinds of issues and you can deal with any customers that are leaving and convert them into customers that would stay. Again, that is, if you think about the humane pin, there are product limitations and product execution issues that don't lie with the customer service team.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, as if you are the CEO, the managing director, the business owner, you have to take a grip on your CX and ensure it is well resourced and that the perspectives that are needed to have a good customer experience is owned by all of your leaders and in fact all of the staff within your company. Everyone has to see themselves as a CX professional, right? As part of my personal key performance indicators, there must be some factor related to customer experience. So yeah, every business has to perform. You want CX to be well thought out and to not be an afterthought and to not just be an add-on. And certainly you don't want to leave it simply to your to be a customer service thing, which is a very narrow interface. Often customer service is having conversations with customers or addressing customer problems, but they don't have the power to fix the many other things that are in the company, which means you need executive support to drive CX. There's another factor that I want to come to, but I'll pause there for now. Yeah, it is critical. You need to have that CX strategy if you want your top and bottom line, your top line being sales, bottom line being your profitability. If you want both to be trending in the right direction, having good CX can change the game and in fact can help you to differentiate yourself, especially in the Caribbean climate, can make your organization a differentiator in line with your peers that would cause customers to say, here, let's migrate to this particular provider, which will directly improve your sales performance.
I fully agree. In fact, I just want to add this because what Kendall had asked about the sources of revenue generation, making money using your customer journey mapping. So there were 5 points I wanted to address with that. One is when you have your consumer journey map, you could now see, as I said, it's visual, and you could do channel optimization, and really have the right channels for the right personas, as I mentioned earlier, whether they're on Instagram or TikTok. You could cut back your ad spend based on where the personas are. Then you could also remove ineffective touch points. You could also try to improve the word of mouth and increase customer loyalty, which I mentioned, and attract customers organically. And then you could also do emotional segmentation and give the customers what they want at each stage of the life cycle, as you said. And then again, lastly, organizational alignment. So these five elements, these 5 items here provide a framework for the businesses to generate a higher ROI on their spend and really tighten up, streamline, and improve just by observing a journey map.
Yeah, correct. And you mentioned something really important in there, that organizational alignment there, Stuart, that you mentioned really is noteworthy because key to your CX, your customer experience strategy, is your EX strategy, right? Which is your employee engagement. Yeah. And so one of the trends in customer experience over the years that has increased is the incorporation of EX in your CX consideration. Again, EX being employee engagement. Why? Because fundamentally, if your employees are unhappy and they're not engaged, they're dissatisfied, that will come out in the way in which they treat your customers. And so it's one of those forgotten things where we only think about the front end and the how the customer gets served and so on. But the people who have to serve the customers have to be nurtured. And it's easier said than done, but it's an important thing to consider. You have to be thinking, are we building a fair system? Are we building a system that nurtures our staff, that gives them growth opportunities? Are we treating them well? And of course, each one of those, the answers to each of those is relative to both you and the staff and the kind of staff that you have. But you want to be tracking those things. So one of the trends in CX is the measurement of EX factors, right? How well is your employee engagement score? What's your employee engagement score like? And are you tracking that? So some people use tools like Qualtrics. Qualtrics is a digital platform that will track CX data, like again, customer lifetime value and retention rate and churn rate and other things like that. But they also have an EX side, and it'll bring both into one dashboard. So you could be polling, just as you will do customer satisfaction surveys on the CX side, you can do employee satisfaction surveys on the EX side, and then bring those together to get a better picture of the organization. Again, we're coming back to the importance of CX as part of your strategy for performance. So if your EX score is consistently low, that will threaten your CX scores, and your CX scores will then threaten your overall company performance. And the opposite is true, which is if those scores are high and you're doing well there, it means you can expect better returns in terms of your business performance, how well your business does, how much you sell, how the customers that you sell to then become ambassadors and advocates for your brand, who will then go tell others, hey, I had a really good experience at this company. You should try them. And again, back to the customer journey. Often the customer journey starts with asking a friend, right? Asking a friend, hey, where do you service your car? Where did you buy that top that you're wearing? Where did you cut your hair? Right? There's different questions like that. It starts with asking. So not just the digital things that the company may have influence on. It starts with asking people, and sometimes asking people, I know you used to go to this business. They treat you good? Was your experience good? And that feedback would inform their decision as to whether they will become a customer or not. All right. Sometimes the friend that you're asking is also an employee at the company. And that changes the color of things, right? When your employees are now saying, nah, don't take these people on. They're greedy, or they are unfair, or any number of negative things, that has a negative impact on your brand, and it will change who will then come to you, because the recommendations from customers and staff will not be in your favor.
Brilliant. But I just want to wrap up with this before we end. Some consumer behavior data. So we spoke about the discovery phase, when you're now discovering your need. So again, this is just some data I'm sharing with the audience. The top 5 discovery tools would be online search, then TV advertisements, then word of mouth, which I mentioned, social media ads, and then the actual brand, their retail website. So you have to consider that in the discovery phase. At the consideration phase, 9 out of 10 read reviews. 3 out of 4 use smartphones to research the stores, social media, and websites. They use their smartphones. At conversion, the tipping points really are best price at 87%, free delivery, drive up curbside, 63%, rewards, coupons, discounts, as I mentioned, 50%, customer reviews, ratings, 41%, and an easy return policy, 40%. Then at the purchasing stage, 8 out of 10 decide to buy while using the mobile device. But 3 out of 4 switch to a computer or actually go into the store for the purchase. All right? And then lastly, well, not lastly, but we on evaluate. So when evaluating, you need to remember that 1 in 5 write a negative review after a bad experience. And for repeat purchases, 9 out of 10 consumers value high quality and a good shopping experience. And then, lastly, the brand advocate, post-purchase, 1 out of 4 consumers discover brands, retailers through customers' social media posts. Just as you said, not necessarily through things that the company controls, but just random customers and their testimonies about the products. So I just want to wrap up with that. And any comments?
Those are really rich stats. And I think they paint a good picture of how important it is to design the better experience. Good experiences are achieved by design. They don't happen by chance. And so if you leave your customer experience to chance, well, chance will determine what happens. But you want to really be deliberate, or I should say we want to be deliberate about designing those experiences. And that means map the journey, assess to see where your strengths are. Again, those moments that matter. Look at the moments that matter to the customer, not so much to you, what matters to the customer. Find where the pain points are for your customer, and then design a better way so that at each one of those stages, you can actually increase your opportunity for delighting the customer. And of course, for those customers in the end to being advocates that will then celebrate your brand, speak highly of your brand, talk about how much they trust your brand, use your brand, wear your brand in public. So they may not be saying anything with their words, but their actions by consuming your products or services will tell the whole story.
And I mean, that's perfectly said. The entire discussion tonight around the customer experience, we can go on and on and on. I mean, we defined it. We told you that this is going to be a game changer for your business. I mean, just the benefits, they are so resounding for your business. We spoke about the bottom line, but we're talking here about increased awareness, increased trust, increase in conversions. I mean, you name it. We're talking here about improving your customer retention rates, reducing your churn rates. You heard it all tonight in terms of the benefits of your customer experience strategy. And it mustn't be a strategy that is remote. It must be a strategy that is aligned to your overall business vision, your mission, your organizational culture, your employee engagement. For those of you entrepreneurs and business leaders out there who have small to large scale companies, it doesn't matter. But the solopreneurs, as we call them, how can you adopt a customer experience strategy into your business? So many insights tonight, so many gems, so many pieces of information to hold on to research further, to read up more on, to probably reach out to Stuart, Kendall, or Lorenzo to have a conversation. Definitely, most importantly, absorb the information and take action. Lorenzo, before you leave tonight, I really want to thank you so much for taking the time to really detail the customer experience field and strategies and the outlook, even the trends. I mean, we didn't need to ask many questions tonight, as you could tell. The information was flowing and the insights were coming rapidly. I'll give you the opportunity to close us off tonight.
Sure. Thank you so much again for having me, guys. I certainly encourage everyone in your audience, if you are an entrepreneur, an upcoming entrepreneur, in startup phase, or you still waiting to start, wherever you are, either on the track or just getting on the track, your customers are critical. And the way I generally describe customers is, your customer is anyone that you serve, which means that the staff that you serve are your customers as well. And if we see everyone in that way, it changes the way in which we behave, conduct ourselves, and build our businesses. Because everyone is worthy of respect, and everyone is worthy of care and support. And if that is the value that you operate by in life, that thing that you live by will become the thing that your company is built by and built upon. And so it comes back down to good human values. Do you love your brother? Do you love your neighbor? If those fundamental values are held by entrepreneurs, it will change the kinds of decisions that we make. But in the end, we'll see real business value coming from it, because people will trust those that genuinely care for them. And so if you build the right system and you look at the experience that your customers have from finding out about your organization all the way through to when they are already customers of yours and choosing to buy from you again and again and again, if you look at that experience and you intentionally design for it and design care into it, you can expect good results and good returns in the long term. I want to wish all of you all the best. Stay focused. Walk with nobility, as in walk in good values. Stand in integrity and care for each other. Thanks for having me, guys. This was really a pleasure and an honor to be here.
Thanks a lot, Lorenzo.
And thank you to the audience. So good to treat your customers well. You will be rewarded. Get started today. Until next time, focus on your customer experience.
Entrepreneurship, it's all game. The Big Potato Podcast is yours to claim. From startups to scaling up, we cover it all. So don't mess up. Monday nights, don't miss the show with Kendall and Star. Your time to grow, listen up. Take notes and learn. The Big Potato Podcast, next gen's turn.